Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. In the previous class, we were studying about the main features of the new cities, the earlier cities, which were found the remains of which cities were found around 4,700 years ago. And in this regard, we have seen that the in most of the cities were divided into two parts, and the western part and the eastern part. And the western part was smaller and higher, and the eastern part was lower town, and uh, it was a big area comparatively, and this was known as lower town. And then we have seen that in one of the cities how there was a special tank was found, and this city was Mohenjo-daro. And after this, we were discussing about the arrangement of the houses, drains, and streets in the cities. And we have seen that all these three houses, drains, and streets were planned. They were not built without planning, because everything was uh, built in such a way that the development of the city was completely planned. Now we will see another important aspect about the cities, and this is life in the city. How was the life in the city? So, a Harappan city was a very busy place. There were people who planned the construction of special buildings in the city. These were probably the rulers. So, we see that in a Harappan city, um, so many people were living together, and the most important people were who? Uh, uh, the most important people were those who planned the construction of a special building. Okay, they were the people who were planning the construction of buildings, how to construct a particular building, uh, in what ways these will be constructed. All these decisions were taken by some people, and it seems that these people who were taking the decisions regarding the construction of special buildings in the cities were rulers. You can see it is the term used probably, because whatever is the observation or the result of the various evidences, the archaeologists are just uh, thinking that it would have been like that. So they are not 100% confirmed about these, but according to evidences, they are reaching to that conclusion that these were probably the rulers. So it is likely that the rulers sent people to distant lands to get metal, precious stones, and other things that they wanted. So, in order to the construction of buildings, what were needed? They needed so many things like metals, precious stones, and other things. So all these things were brought by people from distant lands, and mm, who used to send the people to distant lands in order to get these things. It was the ruler. In this sentence also you can uh, notice the word likely. इट मीन्स कि ऐसा लगता है, इस बात की बहुत ज़्यादा पॉसिबिलिटी है that the rulers used to send people to distant lands in order to get items like metal, precious stone, and other things. Okay, so they may have kept the most valuable objects, such as ornaments of gold and silver or beautiful beads, for themselves. And there were scripts, people who knew how to write, who helped prepare the seal and perhaps wrote on other material that have not survived. So we are seeing that first of all, we are talking about the ruler who used to take decisions regarding the planning of the construction of buildings. Then he used to, it is highly possible that the rulers used to send people to distant places in order to get many things like metal, precious stones, etc. And then what happened that as they were the rulers, so they kept used to keep um, the most valuable object in all the objects which were the most valuable, like ornaments of gold and silver or beautiful beads. So all these valuable objects were kept by the king for themselves. Okay, and there were scripts also. Then we are talking about the second group of people in the society who were scripts. These were the people who knew how to write. All the people were not knowing the art of writing, but these were the scripts who were knowing how to write. Okay, so what was the what were the functions of the scripts? They helped in preparing the seals as they were knowing the art of writing. So uh, they helped in preparation of the seals, and they may have wrote on other materials that have not survived. Uh, on the materials on which they have written something, those materials are not survived till today, and we are not able to see them. And by seeing them and by observing them, we can not come to any conclusion. So we have talked about two groups, the rulers and the scripts. Now we will see that besides these rulers and scripts, there were men and women, craft persons, uh, who were making all kind of things. So craft persons were there who were responsible for making so many things. Okay, and these craft persons were making things either in their own home, or there were special workshops also where they used to go and make all kind of things. Okay, so people were traveling to distant lands or returning with raw materials and perhaps stories. So at this time we see that people was not confined to their own place only. They used to travel. They were travelers also, and they traveled to distant lands, and they were returning with not only with raw materials, but many times they were returning with stories also. So we also find that so many terracotta toys have been found there, and these toys were obviously used by the people to play with. So this was the life in the city. Rulers were there, their function. What was their function? You must know. Then scripts were there. What was their function? then craft persons were there, what they used to do. Okay, so in this regard, we will see this picture. Top. It's about this picture. It's a street in Mohenjo-daro with a drain. So it is a street, and we are seeing this street uh, after around 4,700 years ago of its construction. Okay, so its condition is not very good, but still we can see that drains are there, and drains are laid out in a straight line. Okay, and then in the second picture, it is a well. Okay, from which people used to get water. Then we see these are the seals. The seals they go. It is written on the seal. So who is writing on the seals? Who were helping in writing on the seals? It was scripts. Okay. So this is Harappan seal. The sign on the top of the seal are part of a script. This is a script, and this is not being deciphered by the historians. Historians are not able to read this script. And this script is the earliest form of writing which was known in the subcontinent. Okay, so this is important that this is the earliest form of writing known in the subcontinent. And then in the picture, besides this picture of Harappan seal, we find the picture of toys. So these are terracotta toys. Okay, they are which were used by the by the children to play with. Okay, now we will see the new craft in the city. Uh, so many new things were happening in the city. We are seeing that the construction of the house, drain, and street was so beautifully planned, and so many special buildings were there, like that bathing place in the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, and then her people were doing so many things. So now we will see about the new craft in the city. What were the uh, new craft which were done by the people in the city? So the archaeologists or the historians came to know about the new craft in the city by finding the objects that were there in the Harappan cities. When the excavation was done, so many objects were found in these cities, and then by these all objects, the historians came to the conclusion about the new crafts in the cities. So most of the things that have been found by archaeologists are made of stone, shell, and metal. Okay, so in this period we can say that people use. In this period we can say that people used to, just a moment. Uh, People used to made so many things of stone, cell, and metal. And what metals were used at this time? It was copper, bronze, gold, and silver. These were the metals which were used by the people in order to make so many things. Copper and bronze were used to make tools, weapons, ornaments, and vessels. So this is also important. Copper and bronze were used for making tools, weapons, ornaments, and vessels. Vessels means type of utensils. Okay. Gold and silver were used to make ornaments and vessels. So these were the uses of various metals at the time of Harappan cities. Now, perhaps the most striking finds are those of beads, weights, and blades. Now, we are seeing that in the excavation, the archaeologists have found three important things: beads, then weights, and blades. And here, three pictures are given. Now, we will discuss this picture. Uh, this is the stone weight. In the picture, we are seeing a cube. This cube is actually stone weight, and we can see that the shape of the weights are telling that how accurately things were done at that time. Okay, and these stone weight were made of chert, a kind of stone. Okay, chert was also a kind of stone, and it was used for making the weights. These were probably used to weigh precious stones or metals. These stone weights, which were made of chert, were used only to weigh precious stones or metals. Okay, not everything was being weighed by these stone weights. Only precious uh, stones or metals were weighed by these stone weights. Now, in the next picture, these are beads. Okay, so many of these were made out of carnelian, a beautiful red stone. So we are seeing that the color of the beads are red because these are made out of a red stone named carnelian. Okay, many of these were made out of carnelian, a beautiful red stone. The stone was cut, shaped, polished, and finally a hole was bored through the center so that a string could be passed through it. As we all know, beads are there must be a hole in the through the center. There must be a hole through the center so that a string can pass through it, and it can be used for many purposes. So these are the beads. Okay, which were made of red stone carnelian. The stone was first cut, then it was sieved, then polished, and finally a hole was done through the center. And then we will see these are the stone blades which were used, which were made of stones. So the Harappans also made seals out of stones. One more thing which were made by Harappans, and that was seals. What was the shape of the seal? The uh, the seals were rectangular, as we have seen in the previous page. How is the shape of the seal? This is seal, and we can see that its shape is rectangular. Now, and usually what we find that an animal have been carved on the seal, as we seen in the previous page, the picture of the seal. Uh, there must be uh, an animal carved on them. Now the Harappan also made pots with beautiful black designs, such as one shown on page 6. We can see on page 6 the on page 6 we can see that many pots were made in this period uh, with beautiful black design. In the on page 6 we can see it, the beautiful black designs. Just a moment. The page number which is told by the book is not correct, so we are going back to our just the pages are not given according to the information in the book, so we are not able to see it. We will see it in the next class. So we are seeing that in this period, cotton was also grown because we have evidences of the using of cotton during this period, and we are seeing that it was grown at Mehergarh, about which we were discussed in the previous class. Mehergarh is presently in Pakistan. So cotton was probably grown at Mehergarh from about 7,000 years ago. Okay, from today, 7,000 years ago, cotton was probably grown. And what we see that actual pieces of clothes were found attached to the lid of a silver vase and some copper objects at Mohenjo-daro. When the archaeologists have excavated at Mohenjo-daro, they found that actual piece of cloth. They actual piece of cloth were found by the archaeologist, and these piece of clothes were attached to the lid of a silver vase and some copper objects also. Okay, and these were found at Mohenjo-daro. So it is important how we come to know that during this period, these cotton were used by the people because actual pieces of cloth were found attached to the lid of a silver vase and some copper objects at Mohenjo-daro, and this finding of the archaeologists prove that people during this period, people in the earlier cities, people in the Harappan cities used uh, cloth, cotton. Okay, so archaeologists have also found spindle whorls. Other evidences are also there which prove that people used to wear cotton clothes. Okay, spindle whorls have also been found by the archaeologists, and these whorls were made of terracotta and fans. These were used to spin thread. What was the use of these spindle whorls? The use of these spindle whorls was to spinning of the thread. And now we are seeing that these spindle whorls were made of terracotta and veins. Now we will understand what is veins. So veins is not a natural material first of all. Okay, it is a material which is artificially produced. It is not a natural thing. Okay, and how it was produced, the process is I'm telling you the process. A gum was used to shape sand or powdered quartz into an object. So, what happened that sand or powdered quartz was mixed with gum, and then when the gum and the sand was mixed properly, and they were mixed in such proportion that the mixture can be used to give shape to an object. Okay, so an object was shaped out of the mixture of gum and sand or powdered quartz, and then what happened that the objects were glazed, okay, resulting in a shiny glassy surface. So when they were glazed, what happened, the surface of this mixture of sand and gum was looked very glossy and shiny. The color of the glaze were usually blue or sea green. So what color were used when the glazing were done? It was a blue or sea green. And this paints was used to make beads, bangles, earrings, and tiny vessels. So these are not natural object, but it's a material that was produced by men only. So, and now one more thing, that spindle whorls, the finding of spinning whorls also proved that people used to spin thread, and people used to in this way spin clothes of cotton, and they were using the cotton cloth. So we have two evidences regarding this, that people were using cotton clothes during this period. The first is the remains of cloth were found at many places in which uh, the clothes were attached to the lid of a silver vase or some copper object, and then the second is the finding of the spindle vase. Okay, so many of the things that were produced were probably the work of specialists. So, in society at that time, specialists were also available. Specialist means a specialist is a person who is trained to do only one kind of work. Okay, the person who is doing only one kind of work is not doing all the things at the same time. He is having specialized knowledge of a particular area, or he is having the specialized um, skill regarding that area. So, uh, you can see, for example, cutting a stone or polishing beads. A particular person is only responsible for cutting the stone. Then we will say that he is an specialist. Or a person is responsible only for polishing of beads. All the work is not done by everyone, but the works were divided among the people. So, this kind of division of a function among people is called a specialization. Okay, and the person who does this type of work, that only one kind of work is being done by the people, then that person is called a specialist. Now we will see uh, how well the face is carved and how carefully the beard is sewn. This must have been the work of an expert craft person. So not everybody could have been a specialist. We do not know whether only men were specialists or only women were specialists. Perhaps some women and men may have a specialist. So we know that a specialist, it means the term itself is saying that everyone cannot be included in it specialist. Specialist का मतलब ही होता है कि कुछ लोग, some of the people are knowing the art. so they are specialists. And in this regard, there is no evidence regarding this matter that only men were specialists or only women were specialists. We don't have any kind of evidence to support these statements. So, archaeologists are of the opinion that some women and men may have been specialists. Both of them were specialists, but not all men and all women. But some men and some women may have been specialists. So, these were the different groups of people who were living in the society of earlier cities, and then these were the various kind of things which were produced in the earliest cities. So now today our discussion is over, and we will meet tomorrow and discuss another things.